I'm Travis Wiley, chiropractor and natural health care practitioner, and today we are talking about sugar. Now, if you follow me very closely, you know that I promote a lifestyle that recommends, reducing the amount of sugar that you eat in your diet. And this is not anything new. In fact, for years, for decades, doctors and dentists have been sounding the alarm about, the effects of sugar and how high sugar is dangerous to the body. In fact, as early as the 1940s, the American Medical Association was giving a warning that the increased sugar consumption was hurting the health of the population. But unfortunately, no one listened back then, and not very many people are listening now. The average American eats 165 pounds of sugar every single year. 165 pounds. Now, just to give you some idea for comparison, in 1917, which is about 100 years ago, the average amount of sugar consumed per capita in the United States was about 17 pounds per year. So almost a 10 times increase in sugar consumption per capita over the last 100 years. And all of this sugar consumption has taken a terrible toll upon the health of all of us, of everyone in this country. And at some point or another, I think it's safe to say that we've all struggled with, sugar cravings and with eating too much sugar. I know for my own self, it's been a struggle that I've had, my entire life. The first time I went on a sugar fast was about 25 years ago. And no kidding, I went for one solid year, a full 12 months, and did not eat sugar. Now you think that's good, but let me give you the backside of that. The other side of the coin, so to speak. I wasn't eating sugar, but I was eating tons of artificially sweetened desserts. There was a restaurant in Little Rock at the time, and they made these sugar-free pies, and you could get it by the slice or get a whole pie, and I used to eat those all the time. And I was eating tons of artificial sweeteners during that year of no sugar. I was also eating lots of bread and lots of pasta. I was a runner back then, so I was running a lot, so I was burning off those calories. But I was proud of myself for not eating the sugar, but the fact is, as I look back on it now, I really wasn't doing myself any favors. I wasn't doing my health any favors. In fact, probably all of that artificial sweetener was as detrimental to my body as all that sugar had been. So, I did that, and then of course I continued to struggle, and then my next big push to really stop eating sugar was actually 4 years ago. 4 years ago this month, or coming up on this month, and it was around Halloween. And I got to tell you, this was in about 2016, and I went under a lot of stress, and I don't know, September and October rolled around, and I had just completely lost it, y'all. I'm going to tell you, I had completely lost it when it came to my impulse control around sugar. I was eating tons of sugar. I had tons of Halloween candy. I can remember that year because I've not done it since then. But I was eating all the little Halloween candies, and I was I just making myself sick. I mean, not only just physically I didn't feel good, but just emotionally and mentally and spiritually, I just felt so disheartened and so discouraged, and I was so upset with myself. So I got through Halloween, and I made it through Halloween, binged on the sugar, and then I set a goal for myself between Halloween and Thanksgiving. I was going to have no sweets. Go for a full 3.5 weeks, how many ever days it was, have no sugar, so that when Thanksgiving came, I could enjoy all the good traditional Thanksgiving desserts. So that was my plan. So I started that, and I got to tell you, it was tough, getting started. And, after that big sugar binge for about 2 months that it lasted, just go cold turkey, and that's what I did. I just went cold turkey, no sugar, cut it all out, and I went through the withdrawal process for a few days. And I started feeling better. And I can remember Thanksgiving Day came. I actually was hosting Thanksgiving at my house. My family showed up, my sisters, and I made it through the day with no sugar. Now that was a pretty big deal for me, and I got to tell you, everyone in my family was surprised. That I was doing it. Now I did have some mashed potatoes, and I had some dressing, so I had a lot of carbs that day. But I actually went through that day with no sugar, and so I got through Thanksgiving, and then I kept going. And you know what? I made it through that Christmas of 2016, and I ate no sugar through the Christmas holiday, and I just continued this process. So when you go on this low sugar, lifestyle, when you start addressing your sugar issues, whether it be just sugar cravings, for some of you it may be a full-blown sugar addiction, just be patient with yourself. It takes time. It takes patience. It takes dedication. It takes commitment. It takes forgiveness. You have to forgive yourself if you fall off the wagon, but then at the same time, you've got to be hard on yourself. You've got to be tough on yourself to get back on that horse whenever you do fall off. And I got to say, again, the average American per capita, we're eating 165 pounds of sugar a year. And that means somebody's getting my part because I'm not eating anywhere near that amount. But we're really not to blame. If you have issues with sugar right now, if you're a sugar addict, if you have severe sugar cravings or even mild sugar cravings, yes, we have to be responsible for that ourselves. But at the same time, we've kind of been led to this by a food industry, by the sugar industry that has continued to add in more and more added sugar to the foods that we eat. And the more sugar they add to the foods that we eat, the more our bodies want it, the more our brains get addicted to it, the more we got to have it. Now again, as far back as the 40s, doctors were warning about the effects of sugars, doctors and dentists. In fact, it wasn't until about the mid-50s that sugar was linked with weight gain. The fact that sugar was linked to weight gain, well, that put the sugar industry on the offensive, and they started a whole advertising campaign trying to say that sugar actually helped people lose weight. Because when you ate sugar, it dulled your appetite for more of the fattening foods. In fact, in 1955, there was a sugar trade group that actually won an award for a commercial, and the award was in the category of advertising in the public interest. Now, can you imagine a sugar trade industry in 1955 won an advertising award for their commercials stating that sugar does not make you gain weight, and they won an award for advertising in the public interest? That's just totally crazy for us to think about today. Well, then it wasn't until the 1960s that the sugar industry was again put on the offensive. This time it was with the advent of diet sodas. Diet sodas began to come into the market in the 1960s. And so once again, the sugar industry, they began a whole advertising campaign, and they claimed that drinking diet sodas would actually cause you to gain weight because drinking diet sodas did not satisfy your appetite for the sugar that you had, for the food, for hunger, and so therefore you would eat more. And this is just fascinating. The sugar industry in the 60s, they took an old scientific theory, and there was some evidence about this. It was an old theory that there was an appetite center in the brain called the apostat, like an appetite thermostat. And so they said that when you ate real sugar, that it satisfied your apostat. And so therefore you felt full and you didn't feel as if you needed to eat anymore. But when you drank Diet Coke or diet sodas, it did not satisfy that, and so you would eat more. It's just crazy. And it wasn't until December of 1971 that the FTC finally told the sugar industry they had to stop. There's been just warning and warning and warning about how bad sugar is for human health, and yet our food industry has continued to add sugar to the food that we eat. Again, today, the average American per capita consumes 165 pounds of sugar every year, and that does not include the high fructose corn syrup. And so that's a whole different animal in itself. So that's on top of all the sugar that we're eating as well. Well, needless to say, sugar continues to be marketed very heavily today. And what I'm seeing now, because, more and more people are getting aware of this, so they're wanting to pull away from sugar. And so I'm seeing some really sneaky marketing techniques what the sugar industry is using to convince you and me that this sugar is better than old plain old white sugar. So you're seeing things like organic sugar. I've actually had patients believe and ask me thinking that organic sugar must be okay. Well, no, organic sugar is not okay. Well, what about raw sugar? Well, raw sugar does have some of the minerals in it that the processed sugar doesn't have, but it's still sugar. It's an empty calorie, and even though you're getting some of the minerals, and yes, that's a good thing, the downside of eating raw sugar is far greater than the upside of getting those minerals. It's much easier to get minerals from other sources. So, raw sugar, brown sugar, the pure cane sugar, the coconut sugar, all these different types of sugars, it's all sugar. The ethanol, the alcohol sugars, they change the name of it on the labels, but it's all sugar. So today, the consumer, you and I, we have to be very, very careful. You truly have to be a food detective in order to figure out where you're getting the sugar in your diet. So if you've struggled with sugar, hey, the good news is you're not alone. I've been right there with you. I have struggled with sugar myself, and it's easy to fall off that bandwagon. I want to encourage you, don't give up the battle. I truly believe that the one thing that anybody could do in order to improve their health, that would improve your health, improve your state of mind, your thinking, that would improve your ability to sleep, improve everything in your life. The one thing we all can do is stop eating sugar. All right, that's all I have to say. I want to remind everyone to please, if you like my content on my YouTube channel, please subscribe to our channel. Follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram. If anyone has any questions, you can message me, call the office. I love an opportunity to work with you if I can do anything to help make your life better.